So today we're talking about seller finance. Seller finance is a thing that connects three different industries today. Talking about real estate and the idea and the connection of like a long-term mortgage combined with being able to buy real estate with zero money down and zero credit down and zero credit checks, and being able to acquire real estate with seller finance, for example, and over long periods of time, like 30 plus years, and at the same time combining that with the idea of acquiring businesses at the same time, and businesses connected to real estate, and then at the same time the idea of processing merchant services, cards, and things of this nature in terms of payment processing for, in other words, gaining commissions, earning commissions through the real estate industry. And Pace Morby, who I talked about a few days ago, but this is sort of the return of that concept, but there's more in-depth of a focus on it for the purpose that it can cause a greater return than it initially appeared. And that is what we're going to mix up. That's what we're going to mash up. So stay till the end to find out how it gets there. And welcome to the news. So in essence, what we're talking about is seller finance, because in essence, we're also talking about something that corresponds to deal passing, deal connecting, deal commissions as well for connecting a deal, especially with Pace Morby. Pace Morby is like my focus lately, apparently, for real estate, because it's like, in essence, more of like an aura connection, aura vibes with Pace Morby than it is with certain other people that are selling in the real estate realm, and just in connection to being able to try to connect with people. It's about trying to connect with people. And so the idea is that you are able to get a lifeline of commission if people are customers and you bring and make a connection with a partnership in something called the Gators Alpha. The Alpha Gators participation group with Pace Morby, that basically you can get commission, like half of the commission of deals that are presented and flow through a specific, with a specific client that connects to Pace Morby's organization as the bank. He plays the role of the bank. And every single deal that a client brings in, you still get 50%, meaning if the client continues to make deals after the first deal, that you continue to get 50%, you're tracked and you're paid out. And so that's the nature of sort of also the connection to seller finance, which also connects to the ideation of buying businesses. And there's also the silver tsunami, which corresponds to, $12 trillion in businesses changing hands in the next 10 to 15 years because of the silver tsunami, where people are graduating their businesses, they're getting older, and baby boomers are graduating from their businesses, and they don't have anyone in terms of succession, no succession plans to pass businesses along to. So this, in combination, is with seller finance, is a great way to acquire businesses at the same time. So it's acquiring businesses and real estate at the same time with seller finance. But at the same time, with someone like Pace Morby, he's able to package the purchasing of businesses and real estate in a packaged way, and ultimately being able to sell through the real estate avenue of selling businesses with real estate attached is one of the foundational hopeful principles for long-term focus, for being able to try to packages and develop earnings in the future but Pace Morby offers the connection again, so that every deal structure that you bring in, that in essence you continue to get the process related to ongoing commissions, like 50% commissions for every deal that one person, one customer, one introduction, and one handshake does with Pace Morby for the lifetime of the customer, which is ongoing, which is similar to Real Merchant Services, which is a company I talked about a couple of days ago that has a free referral agent services portal on their website, Real Merchant Services. So if you sign up a new company and give them a referral, they will also continue to pay you month after month after month, which is why I talked about them for as long as they, stay just processing their payments, just for making one connection, one handshake, except it's a larger deal. It's a larger, bigger connection with the real estate industry, and having this ability to leverage seller finance and creative financing, all that Pace Morby and his company does. So it's under one roof, but if you're able to connect with them, because they have all kinds of avenues through their community, which is a large community, and also there's a free introduction through their Discord community. Go on Discord, and it's called the Elephants Helping Elephants community in the Discord room, which is basically made and purposed around larger elephants guiding smaller elephants. So like smaller elephants, which are, obviously new, they're able to walk behind the bigger elephants and grab their tails and get the idea of being guided, in essence, in the free Discord chat before actually trying to go forward with anything else in terms of being part of the community. But yeah, trying to find the free avenue into that specific community, that would be the best so far that I've noticed recommended course to get into the Pace Morby community for free. Because once you're able to try to connect the dots, to have somebody as an upline to try to bring deals to, then hopefully you can participate in just continuous upline commission travels to get yourself in the daisy chain of commission receiving, commission reception. In other words, getting that ongoing commission. So in essence, those are just correlations for ongoing commissions through these unique avenues of deal creation, which Pace Morby sort of seems to develop the foundation for what his brand revolves around in terms of creative finance, and why that's a unique value proposition with that specific brand, because it also connects with Cody Sanchez, who he's spoken with at many speaking events. And at the same time, Cody Sanchez is all about selling businesses, buying and selling businesses like laundromats and boring businesses to transfer value from existing, already momentous, cash flowing businesses, and using seller finance oftentimes to be able to acquire these businesses. So that is one of the primary purposes, which means you use the cash flow from the business just to buy the business. And just in the same way in real estate, for example, you can buy like a 43-unit apartment building by taking over the mortgage. Once you can see that a realtor, you can see in the databases if a realtor is not successful at selling a piece of real estate, and then therefore you're able to step in to that deal and offer to take over the mortgage from the person who is trying to sell that 43-unit apartment complex, and then be able to basically start to pay for the mortgage and just take over their mortgage and pay for seller finance, and do it over a long period, like 30 years, for example, so that basically by the time you take that over, and then also you're able to start to get these cash flowing tenants in this 43-unit building, you take over the mortgage, they get what they want, and then you're able to start making the payments over the 30 years back through seller finance back into the original owner, and he gets to move out and move away from his cash flowing business for whatever reason he needs to. And at the same time, you then start making the payments in the long term and pay for it with seller finance through the cash flow of the tenants that are already existing in this process, that is a part of this 43-unit complex sale, because the real estate agent was not successful at making the sale. And that is in a database that you can find in a database where you can see what has not sold, and the agent's term of trying to sell it has expired. So you can then try to step in with a seller finance deal. For example, that's one creative finance avenue within the Pace Morby realm. And then there are also real estate pieces that have businesses attached. And so that's how we're trying to develop packages in the future. And so finally, we'll just kind of leave with like one little bonus. We'll leave with one little bonus at the end today, in addition to seller finance. We'll talk about, this is something that I talked about a couple days ago in terms of selling anything. Okay, so we're shifting gears a little bit. In terms of selling anything means you're trying to get somebody to go from now where they are to where they want to go. From now where they are to where they want to go, and building a bridge to get there. So to basically qualify your prospects, as opposed to just selling them your core product and putting them right into the offering of a portal where you're trying to sell them a core product, you basically develop a product for your prospects. So that's one step before developing a core offering. And so something that I think that we're presenting today is like a little tip or a concept or a way to start getting money by selling a product to prospects, is by holding a ceremony to be able to get people through the door, to be able to develop a church setting, a church arena, something religious, something spiritual, not religious, but spiritual. That's what I meant to say. Something spiritual, so it's like a spiritual ceremony. And so therefore, just for people to get onto your email list just for people to give you your contact information, as opposed to you paying all the time. A way to get money by doing that is to develop a spiritual ceremony whereby people are used to donating money at the door of a spiritual ceremony. So in essence, you ask them for just a straight up donation at the door. It's anything between, like, I would even say 50 cents to $97 to $98. From 50 cents to $98, you ask for a donation, and they cannot watch the ceremony unless they pay. I would even say, I would go as low as 30 cents. So I would say 30 cents as the minimal donation, up to $98. And so you make that range. So that just to get into the door, they have to give you a little spit of money. They can give you as small as 30 cents, but still they're donating to your cause. They're donating so they know that they're getting something in exchange, and they're getting whatever you give them in terms of a spiritual ceremony. Just like this little podcast is trying to be like about spiritual finance and business music, which is like it's a spiritual ceremony in of itself. But I'm not trying to ask for any money these days, because we're just trying to flow. We're just trying to vibe a little bit. And that's what if you're paying money, if you're paying for paid ads, and you're just trying to get leads, and you're trying to get people on your email list, that way you can actually recoup your funds. You can recoup your funds in many ways for having to put out ad spend to try to get people to come through your door, by giving them a product for prospects that is like a ceremony, a spiritual ceremony, where as opposed to just a straight up workshop, you add a little bit of a vibe, you add somewhat of a vibe, and then for that workshop, for that spiritual ceremony that's a workshop, that's also qualifying them to be part of your email community, to then therefore go through your chain to try to sell them eventually a core offering and become a core customer and a long-term customer, that you ask them for 30 cents up to $98 of a donation fee for participating in this community, for entering through the door, for coming through and participating in this spiritual ceremony, because it's a sacred community, and it's a sacred offering, and it's a sacred process, and it's a sacred product, community, and process that you hope to be honestly cherishing anyway, and honestly trying to champion, because you want to have a cause behind whatever you're trying to sell anyways. And so that helps to donate to the cause. That helps to bring more awareness and donate to the cause, and try to continue to add value to the dollars and cents that can continue to, push the brand forward in the short and long-term sense, by asking for that donation at the door, just like typically places of spirituality tend to ask for regardless, or at least develop that offering, open up themselves to that offering, for that offering to be made. And that's about all for now. Thank you for today, for spending the time. So thank you for coming by today. And that's all for now. Let's all remember to push for world peace. Let's push for world peace every single day. Let's push for world peace every single day, going forward, forever. And also, let's also remember to clear the animal shelters. Let's clear the animal shelters. Let's also remember to clear the animal shelters, because we can foster all the shelter animals, and we can adopt all the shelter animals, and we can also hire all the shelter animals as healers. We can hire all the shelter animals as healers throughout our communities, because they work for free, and they can help heal us as humanity by being contributors and volunteers throughout our communities, because they have healing principles and healing properties to help us harmonize better as all of humanity, to better collectively connect with each other and do better with and for and by our whole entire world collectively and connectively. So let's remember to push for world peace every day, and let's remember to clear the animal shelters. Let's clear the animal shelters all over the world. And that's about all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. Bye. Peace. Bye. Yeah.